Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Super glad to get to join you all today. This case is very, very troubling because it involves a mother that is allowing her teenage daughter to say that she was somehow involved in the child was somehow involved in her father's death, despite all the evidence showing that Laurie's husband likely died in November of the previous year. They are going to get on the stand and try to say that he died in, I think, May of the following year. And we're talking about, I think, 2015 versus 2016, I think. This whole case is very, very, very troubling. If you would like to see full coverage, Grizzly True Crime did coverage. I am not going to play the daughter's testimony. She is 15 years old, turning 16 tomorrow. And in my personal opinion, I think she loves her mom. She wanted to be there and support her mom, but she was 7 years old in the 1st grade when this happened. They had her teacher come on the stand and testify. They are gonna blame this on the 7-year-old and Lori's, like, ex-boyfriend. Like, their story makes no sense. We are going to watch Lori's testimony, and there was a verdict in this case. So let's first start with an overview. All right. I have the full links to all of this information down in the description. I think it's really important to cite your sources to so that's why anytime I share something, I always try to share where I get the information. Brandy Churchwell, the 13th juror, she's also another great channel to check out and take a look at some of this as well. I heard that she saw that Laurie was crying when the ex-boyfriend, like, when he was on the stand and he said that they were just friends with benefits, that she seemed upset by that. You will hear when she's talking about her ex, Jeremy, it almost sounds like she's still in love with him, like, it's weird. If I was her husband, that whole thing was very, very weird. Very, very weird. But, we are going to hop into the timeline. So in November of 2015, investigators believe that Michael Shaver was harmed, was like, so we have to use unalived. It's the beginning of the video. It's a YouTubey thing. Okay. Between November 7th and November 10th of 2015, years would pass before law enforcement became involved as it relates to either a missing person or a murder case. And the last time that Lori attempts to contact him is also in November. There are no phone records for her trying to call him after November of 2015. And she's going to try to say she was so scared of him. And like between November and May, he was living outside the home, that they had had a previous DV incident, which I do think that part was true. And from the reports of it, it sounds like she was making so because her ex or not her ex. So Michael Shaver, he alleges that Lori was threatening to unalive herself and the children, and that there was a weapon, and that they were kind of tussling over it. And it's this is a very, very messy case. I also saw Lawyer Lee also covered this case. I also watched, y'all know me in names. Melanie Little. I also watched her coverage of this case too. But yeah. So in February of 2018, a friend of Michael requested that the Lake County Sheriff's Office do a well-being check because nobody had heard from him in years. All right. And then she told him that she hadn't seen him since 2015. But her testimony is gonna say that sh oh. her daughter and the ex both shot him in 20 May of 2016, which does not make any sense. After initially permitting investigators to look inside the residence, deputies said that she stopped cooperating and requested an attorney as the search continued outdoors. Michael Shaver had only recently been reported missing. March of 2018, one day after Laurie Shaver was named a person of interest in his disappearance, as well as about 2 weeks after the well-being check, investigators discovered articles of clothing and what was believed to be part of human remains underneath a shoddy concrete slab described by deputies as a fire pit. So, a fire pit had been built over where his body was. A cadaver dog brought in from a different county alerted twice to the supposed human remains. And although law enforcement stated they did not want to get ahead of themselves and make assumptions, neighbors recalled what they saw as a discovery was made in real time. So I guess neighbors were there. Mm, okay. All right. So we're gonna skip over that part. 2018, they identified it as Michael Shaver. So it wasn't until September of 2020 that Laurie was arrested. So weird, so weird. And so he stopped going to work in November of 2015, and supposedly his boss got a text message saying that he was moving to Georgia. She's going to try to explain the evidence that she thinks makes her look bad, which like she didn't do a very good job of that in my personal opinion. Okay. Was the body moved? No. So the concrete wasn't poured for a while. So it's my understanding that Michael was working on a duck pond for the children. They had, I want to say 3 children together. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Michael and Lori had, I want to say 3 children together and or 2 or 3. And, he was building a duck pond for the kids. I think what the state believes happened because Michael, they believe he was shot in the head from behind. So, he was likely outside standing somewhere near that, and his body was wrapped in a blue tarp. She's gonna say she's never seen the tarp, she doesn't know what happened, that somebody else did it, and while she was gone, everything was cleaned up, but she just so happens to post pictures of concrete to her Facebook page, and then, like, because her friends are like, "Hey, how are you gonna do that? Like, don't you need a mixer?" And she's like, "Oh, no, you can just mix it yourself, blah, blah, blah." Like, so her and her new husband, but there were people in between. So, like, she doesn't start dating her new husband, I think, until, like, way after. He testified, the state called him to testify. Uh, they called so Jeremy, the ex, the one that they are going to allege. I was wondering why the defense was being so hard on him and trying to make it seem like he had anger problems, but then realizing, oh, they think he's the one that was there in May of 2016 and that he was the one that like Michael and Lori are fighting. And then somehow the child shoots at him and he goes down in the chair. And then somehow the boyfriend just so happens to be there, and, like, the whole thing just didn't make any sense. It just did not make any sense. We are going to listen to her testimony, okay? So I think she just didn't want him. So what was gained by him not being there? I think she wanted I don't think she wanted him, and so she never filed for divorce. She never reported him missing. She got married to the new guy before he was declared missing or so So when the new guy married her, I don't so they're gonna call it a commitment ceremony because she's still legally married to her first husband. They're gonna say they had a commitment ceremony that was attended by family and friends. Family and friends thought they were attending a wedding, but it is a mess. But how do you let your 15-year-old get on the stand and take the blame? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Just doesn't. So, she was out on bond. So, she was granted bond, only 52,000, like, that's so she was granted bond. Um, alright, let's keep going. So then in May of 2023, Laurie's attorneys claimed that their daughter, who was 7 at the time of his disappearance, confessed to shooting and unaliving her father. Now I don't at some point, they dragged Jeremy into it, so and in my opinion, I don't think Jeremy was involved at all, like, he didn't it's my understanding they had rendezvous during, like, her lunch break at her house. He was still, married at the time. Laurie sent flowers to his wife and, like, tried to text his wife like she was Michael, like she was the husband, saying, like, "Roses are red, violets are blue," like, "My wife's a slut," or I don't like, he she sent his Jeremy, her boyfriend, like, her boy like, but he didn't want her. Like, there are all these allegations. It's super, super weird, super odd. Um, very, very sadistic, very problematic. And how do you let your daughter get up and take the blame? It reminded me of Robin Howington. I covered that case. That was a case where um, she was found guilty of of shooting her daughter. She tried to blame it on her 2-year-old son. I think he was 2 at the time. The damage that that does to a child where they might think that they actually did that. So children's memories are very susceptible to influence. And what I wanna say about that, and that's why you have to be careful when asking kids about things that happened and about memories. So a detective interviewing a child wouldn't say, "Do you remember holding the weapon?" They would say, "Was there anything in your hand? What did you touch? What did you do?" Like, they ask them very open-ended questions because you don't wanna suggest, I think, at some point it was in your hand, because kids also wanna please adults. And they often think like, "Oh," like, when kids don't understand their world, they go to their parents to help understand it. And so that's why testimony with kids, and they didn't bring anyone in, to my knowledge, to talk about that, to talk about how susceptible children's memory is to like, the prosecution just stuck to the evidence. The evidence didn't match. The evidence didn't match it happening in May, because that's what the 15-year-old got on the stand and said. She said that it happened in May, and she went and her mom drove her to school the same day. The same day she allegedly saw her father get shot by her mother's boyfriend, she just went to school. And she's gonna say, like, "It's normal for there to be chaos, it was normal for s," but for something like that to happen, and the prosecution on cross-examination of her, they also asked if she had done any therapy, like, at what point? And she had just started therapy, within the last year. She had just started seeing somebody. When if something had happened and if my child had been exposed, but I'm weird, I'm a therapist, I'm a big believer in therapy, but you would expect there to be some type of reaction or response, even if the child maybe wasn't that close to that parent, because the 15-year-old's testimony was kind of like that she wasn't really that close to her dad, her mom was her best friend. That's what a lot of the testimony was. It was just super, super problematic. And the jury, in my opinion, didn't believe it. So, Ah, okay, I'm gonna stay on topic. I wanna jump around. I am going to stay on topic today. Alright. And so I shared that timeline, and then we talked about I don't believe that her daughter was there at all. We can pretty much just look at Laurie's testimony because it's gonna be very similar to what the daughter said happened. And and none of this fits the evidence. None of it. None of it. Alright. Um, she's already been convicted. Okay. So we'll just spoiler alert, too late. I already said it. So she's already been convicted. Last night, the jury deliberated for under 4 hours. It was like 3 hours and 55 minutes. They asked to hear a the audio recording of the police telling her that human remains were found in her backyard, and she was like, "Okay." Like, "Ma'am, human remains were found in your backyard." "Okay." No, like, shock, surprise, "What? Who do you think?" Like, she was like, "Okay." Um, so I also think the 15-year-old, I think she loves her mom, okay? I think she's a daughter that loves her mom. And there are allegations that Laurie used to say people were stalking her and people were after her and all these things happened. Like, it sounds like she made up stories. Welcome, welcome. Hey from Alaska. It sounds like she made up things, Laurie did. And this, I hope that the 15-year-old gets into some serious therapy. And the reason why I say that is because she might feel that she didn't do enough to protect her mom. And it wasn't her job. It was not her job. So let's say it happened the way they said it happened. They should have called the police. But they're going to say Jeremy threatened to unalive the family if they told. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I personally don't believe it. I don't believe any of that. And it didn't happen in May. Something happened in November. But I don't think Lori had met. Like, I don't think her and Jeremy were that close in November. So that's why they had to go with May. Because it wasn't Jeremy. It wasn't. And even if it was a domestic dispute and if she wanted to go with self-defense, but I don't think she was ever gonna admit that she was the one that did it. I think her ego is incredibly fragile, in my personal opinion. She's gonna talk about how skinny she used to be, trigger warning for, like, like, she's gonna mention stuff about, like, that she's gained weight, and she's gonna try to make Michael's family look bad. It's my understanding, so did that come up in testimony? Did Because I thought that's when Jeremy broke it off with her, when she got a tattoo somewhere with, that's what I heard over on Grizzly True Crime. I don't know. I don't know. Alright. Let's hop into her testimony. I'm gonna interrupt it a lot. If you would like to see this video with no interruptions, I have the link to Court TV right down in the description. Let's hop right in. Let's turn on closed captions too. We are gonna watch this because we are I cannot do normal speed, okay? It's just not how my brain works. We're gonna start at 1.25 and see if we need to speed her up or slow her down. So just a heads up, this is sped up at 1.25. Let's go.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Filmer, would you state your name for the record, please?
Laurie Filmer.
So she got married. So her new husband, his last name is Filmer. And so yes. So I'm gonna back that up.
Ms. Filmer, would you state your name for the record, please?
Laurie Filmer, previously known as Laurie Shaver.
Hola.
A big day in your life, isn't it? Big week. It's been several years, hasn't it, Ms. Filmer? Let's
In my personal opinion, these tears are for herself and for her having to be here, okay? In my personal I don't know why she's crying. I don't know. But it seems to be for herself in my personal opinion. The emotion is gonna be really shallow. It's gonna go away really, really fast. And she's also gonna show some, like, agitation to me, and she's gonna like I said, she's gonna speak negatively about Michael's family. She doesn't like some of the testimony that's happened.
Tell me when you're ready. Okay. Would you tell the jury who you are and how you met Michael Shaver?
I met Michael. Well, we started dating in 7th grade. We lived in a very small town in Lawrence, New York. Our school was K through 12, 500 kids. Our graduating class was like 14, 18 kids. We went to kindergarten together. I met Michael in tech class when they actually did tech class in 7th grade.
So we reached a period of time where y'all elected to get married, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
May of 2016.
So it was May of 2006. The prosecutor is gonna fix that on redirect, but it was May of 2006.
Okay. And at some point in time, y'all ended up migrating to the state of Florida.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember approximately when that was?
I graduated in 2001.
So I will say being on the stand can bring up a lot of emotions. She's probably upset that she has to tell her story, you know? Like I don't know what she's feeling. I don't think this helped her in any way. I don't think it helped her, but I think after having her daughter testify, you have to get up there on you can't put your daughter up there and you don't get up there.
Went to college. So Mike was a dropout. He got his GED.
Like even the way she talks about him dropping out, like the way that she talks about him, even like after his death, she's still putting him down. That's how I felt about that.
He wanted to become a pilot. Didn't have much funding for that. My parents paid for it. I went to school for business administration and focus in health service administration. So I was very socially awkward. Wasn't a popular kid in school.
Okay.
She's also gonna mention that she's the youngest of 5, and in my personal opinion, I think she wanted attention. I think she wanted to be seen. I don't know that any amount of attention was ever enough. So Mike was very successful. He did become a pilot, but she's gonna say, like, her parents paid for it in order for him to be with her. He had to get his GED and blah, blah, blah. Like, she's gonna try to be like she saved him. "Hey, Phoebe." Alright, let's keep going.
Brother, one of my oldest brothers. I'm the youngest of 5. One of my brothers got meningitis at 7 weeks. And
This part is not gonna make sense to me, okay? She's gonna use the R word, so just trigger warning for the R word, like, that's just what she's gonna say. But I'll pause it after she says it.
he was severely mentally retarded. He got picked on a lot. So growing up in a small town, that was not like acceptable way back then. And I spent all my time in the handicap classroom.
But why was she if her brother was the one with the intellectual disability, why did she have to be like, was she his aide? That part didn't make any sense to me. Like, very much main character energy. Like, she has to be the one that's saving everybody, the one that's also the victim, the one that is doing the most. Like, why did looking for sympathy but, like, why did you have to talk about why were you in the intellectual disability classroom with your brother? Like, that part didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why she said it. I don't know why.
And that was like not popular. I was an outcast. He used to get beat up on the bus, and I would stick up for him.
Okay.
I met Mike had gone to school with him, but in 7th grade in tech class, we became friends. He was an awkward kid as well because he was kind of like a
She's, like, talking bad about him even but okay.
troublemaker at that time. And I didn't have anybody. He didn't have anybody. We kind of clung together at that point.
Okay. So there's some period of time went by, y'all got married,
Same.
ended up down here, correct?
Yes.
Mike wanted to be a pilot, couldn't do that, or what?
No, he did. Yep.
Okay. Did he?
Definitely did.
Okay. Did he fly commercial, or was it a hobby?
Nope. He, my parents helped him get his personal private pilot's license. He wanted to go on and get his professional pilot license. My parents told him that if he was going to date me, he was going to get his GED and they would help him. He looked to his family to get assistance with that. He was denied. So it took some time. It took a lot of time, but eventually he made his way. He started flying for Pan Am Flight Academy, which is
Why are there tears there? When she talks about Pan Am Flight Academy, I don't know what emotion is coming up. Like, is she missing getting to fly for free? Like, I am not sure what just happened there.
the lower division of U.S. Airways out of New York City.
Okay.
Yep. He was doing good.
So eventually you end up down here, and
Mhm.
Mike transgresses into another occupation. How did that happen?
Why transgresses? Like transitions? Maybe he meant transition. Y'all know me in words, okay? So I can't talk about anybody else's words. When I think of transgress, I don't know. I think of that in a different way.
Well,
Me personally.
we first moved. So I worked for MetLife Disability. I worked for them for 15 years, corporate. I worked for them in office for 4 years. When Mike finally succeeded in everything, we were able to move. We moved to Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, when I was 7 weeks pregnant with Isabel.
Okay.
We were there for about a year. We moved back to New York. We got hit with our first hurricane ever. It was kind of like a scary thing. We were top tier of an apartment building. A tree came in. We didn't know what to do. We packed up our stuff. We were back in New York 3 days later.
Okay.
Then after that, we were there for about a year. I was still working for MetLife, but at that time, work from home was kind of becoming popular. And I was able to, again, move my work to Florida. And we moved to Orlando, right next to the airport. And I was working from home, had Isabel. And he was commuting from Orlando to New York City on a weekly basis. He was gone for weeks at a time.
I wanted to highlight Cora's comment. Thank you for being here. A lot of people did feel like the daughter's testimony was, at least at minimum, discussed with her mother. And a lot of people got the feeling that after or during, so Grizzly True Crime was picking up on some possible hand or like nodding or like that there might have been things that the mom wanted her to say that she, whoopsie, wasn't saying. My bad, y'all. I'm over here playing with the camera. That's my bad. Too many buttons. It's number one. I'll remember it's number one. Yep, you can get it. There you go. My son just got the iPad and he's heading back out now. But with this case, it was just so sad, in my opinion, how the daughter was used. And it didn't help because they're trying to say it happened in May. And that doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. And so if her daughter's testimony had went over better with the jury, she probably wouldn't have testified. She probably wouldn't have if the daughter's testimony had went better. But the daughter didn't do anything wrong, and she's 15 years old, going on 16, and what Laurie says happened, the jury did not believe it.
Okay. What happened next in y'all's life?
There was a lot. We just had each other. I don't know how else to explain it. We just had each other. I was a single mom in a new place with no family, no friends. He was a pilot. He was gone all the time. There was no support from either family.
Now we heard from family in this case of Mike's come in and they said, well, we haven't heard from him for this period of time or that period of time. Was he close with his family at all?
No.
You ever visit him?
Stacy, yes.
Did any of them ever visit your residence?
Never. They didn't even come to the wedding.
Okay.
But when we were growing up through high school, we would go to Stacy's all the time. Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. I knew Desiree.
So I think she's mad at what Stacy said. Like, you're on trial for killing her brother. Like, what do you think? Like, yeah.
I knew Danny. And you know that. And every time we would go over there and meet, you and Mike used to always get together and talk about how your dad evaded the whole family.
Okay. What was the next step in y'all's marriage?
So from there,
So an emotion came up. That emotion's gonna go away. But she was upset about Stacy's testimony? Okay.
a lot of issues. A lot of issues. He was away, gone for over a week. I packed up Isabel, and we had flight privileges. We could fly for free. I packed her up, and when he was gone, took her to New York, where my family was, thinking I could get away, get support, file for divorce.
So that's why I wanted to cover this, because I hope her daughter knows she didn't do anything wrong. Okay? The evidence, I hope when the daughter's older, I hope she goes back and watches everything. It reminds me of Harley from the Letitia Stout case, or there was another one that I covered, the one where the mother, same situation, like, killed the father and told the daughter that her father abandoned them, and then the daughter finally came to herself. And that type of, like, coming out of that place of denial into getting the truth, that can cause somebody to really break down. And there might be a part of Lori's daughter that doesn't want to think that her mom could do this, because she's already lost her father. And I hope that she knows she didn't do anything wrong. I hope that she knows that. The Isabel, the daughter in this case. I hope that she knows she did not do anything wrong. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's keep going.
Everything was good. Rented a house. Everything was good. I was back working at MetLife in the office. My sister works there. She's actually the operations manager now. She's a nurse. She started her way down low. She was actually the one that got me the job, told me that they were doing this mass hiring. And now she's the operations manager of MetLife in Oriskany. So I packed Isabel up. She was just a little over a year old. We went there. And
Where was Mike?
well, he was off on a business trip, but we had back then you used to have flying privileges. You could you were just on standby. As long as you could just get on the plane,
That's true. Still have
you could fly anywhere you wanted to for free back then. So that's what I did.
I think she misses
I got
that.
away. My sister was helping me. We got a house. We rented a house. Everything was like, all right, this is gonna work.
I don't think the daughter was there, or if she was there, I don't know that she understood what happened, because Laurie told the whole family that Mike just abandoned everybody, like that he just left. Like, that's what she said, and she was using his phone. I think she logged into his Facebook. She was doing these things, and they have evidence of this from her IP address, and her team tried to make it sound like she was hacked or something, but who else would benefit from it but her? Who else? And so the daughter likely felt that her father abandoned her. So Lori would have had a better case if she had just told the truth and tried to claim self-defense. She probably would have been found, like, guilty, but I don't know. Because she got away with this for years. This happened in 2015. They believe it was November of 2015. She wasn't arrested until 2020, and she's been out on bond, and she just was found guilty in September 13th of 2024. So she got away with it for a long time. My personal opinion. Okay. Yes. So Lori testified, but I don't believe, but Lori also said Jeremy was the one that did it. They say it happened in May, but it didn't. It likely happened in November. So that's where I don't know where the truth is. That will be incredibly confusing. Um, I don't know what happened. What makes more sense is if something like this happened while the kids were maybe at school or something. I don't know. I because nobody saw her, like, cover the shallow grave, or nobody saw any of that. And I don't believe it's true. I just don't. And that's where I wonder if she was open to suggestion of, "Don't you remember in May when daddy was da da da, and don't you remember that then he did this, and then you went and grabbed and you were protecting me, don't you remember?" Like, it's really easy. Like, I hate to, it just is, I'm sorry. So that's why, if I'm working with families, and if the parents aren't together and they're making allegations against each other, and if I'm meeting with the child, when the child starts using language that isn't child language, that's when the red flags start going off, 'cause that happens. Um, uh, was the daughter hypnotized? So the thing with so if false beliefs have already been planted there, I don't know if hypnosis with therapy, long, because so if her daughter was to come into my office, the first thing I would work on is her coping with the sentence, her coping with however she felt about things, and then if she was open to going into, like, what do you think? How do you feel? Because sometimes if you push somebody too fast, they just won't come back. So if day one, if I was a therapist and I was like, I don't believe your mom. Like, I think she lied. Like, if you come in like that, if you come in too hot, the person is not going to stay. They're not going to talk to you at all. The first thing a therapist would need to do is build rapport with her. And so the first part might be that if that's how you remember things, I want to help you cope with it. I want to help you manage it. And then even if it was true, her mother never reported him missing. She never reported the crime. She lied and lied and lied and did all these things. Like, something happened, and it doesn't make sense that it was Jeremy, in my opinion, but that's just how I feel. Okay. I hope that's helpful. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Make sure to go ahead and hit the like button. If you'd like more content like this, make sure to subscribe. All right, let's hop back in.
I was seeking attorney in New York, filing for divorce. My mom, I joined a gym and I went to a spinning class one night.
I don't know why we're getting these details, but okay,
I came home that night.
maybe.
My mom was watching Isabel. It was a baby.
This will be an incident.
I went into the shower. When I came out, my mom was not there.
What happened?
Okay.
I was greeted by a punch in the face.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay.
So she's been told that she's not supposed to introduce past acts, like she was told she's not supposed to do stuff like this, and she just did the thing. Okay.
Let's limit it
Okay.
without physical
Okay. I
description.
was greeted by Michael.
Okay.
3 weeks later,
All right.
I was out of work for 3 weeks.
Okay.
And we were all back in Florida 3 weeks after that. And I was again working from home without my family, without any support. And we were living in Davenport, Florida at that time, Champions Gate area.
Let's transgress into the family environment. Did it ever develop, Laurie, into an atmosphere where there was tension, so to speak?
There was always tension.
Let's talk about the nature.
And even if there was DV, that's a reason to get divorced and leave. It's not a reason to pew somebody in the back of the, like, you don't do the things. Does that, like, that's a reason to leave. And it is hard to leave. People can feel difficult about leaving. There are allegations that she had affairs, that he had affairs. This marriage sounds incredibly toxic, very toxic. And she could have put forth a self-defense claim, after this happened and saw what happened, but she covered it all up. And now she's saying her daughter, and then so there's only one wound. There's only one gunshot wound. So, because at first they were just saying the 7-year-old was the one that did it, and then they came up with that Jeremy was there, and he covered up because what happened was, okay, if the 7-year-old did it, then you were the one that put him in the shallow grave and covered his body and built a fire pit on top. So that didn't help. So what she's gonna say is that she's gonna so we'll get there in a minute. We'll get to what she says. It doesn't make sense, okay? None of this makes any sense. We're gonna try.
Sure, of attention.
I love Judge Judy. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true. It's just not true. I'm gonna fast forward.
I don't want to see pictures.
I'm showing you a composite of images. I want you to look through those. Sorry, that's number 2.
Okay, so I guess they're probably gonna show her pictures of past injuries to herself or something. I'm guessing that's what they're doing right now. I agree with this. I don't think she was there. They said it was a duck pond. They said he was building a duck
I have
pond
the
for the
memories. I don't
kids.
need to look at pictures.
Now, without articulating the specific facts of those events, did you suffer any injuries at the hands of Michael Shaver?
She might have. Yeah, that might be true.
Showing you defense 3 identification. Who's that? Who's in?
So two things can be true at the same time. And what I mean by two things can be true, because a woman in Florida did successfully put on a self-defense claim. I think but she had a long documented history of DV. I think he was sitting on the couch. I think she shot him, I think 9 times or something. There was a recent case that was successful for because she was found not guilty, I want to say. But she would have had to report it. And it sounds like he was shot in the back of his head, which would mean he was like leaving or retreating. She's going to try to say that they had orders of protections on each other and that she would let him back in the house, which can happen. So those things can happen, but something happened that sounds a lot like a crime in my
That's right.
Michael.
Whose blood is on that shirt?
That's the allegation. That's
Michael.
my understanding of the allegation.
Was that a consequence of an altercation between you and Michael Shaver?
Yes.
She didn't even report him dead. She didn't collect anything.
When these incidents occurred, would these occur around the family
Yeah.
and the occupants of that family?
Sometimes.
Pardon me?
Sometimes. Most of the time. I mean, he didn't hide it.
Let's talk about your relationship with Isabel.
Her daughter.
What was your relationship like with Isabel?
Like when she was younger or now?
Well, when y'all were younger, did Isabel ever develop a feeling or a need to protect you?
Seems
Did she
leading.
demonstrate? Did she demonstrate?
Isabel grew up really fast.
Because of you.
She had to take care of Aiden. And when I was
Because of you. What do you mean? Like, she's making it sound like her daughter had to do these things, but like these are, as a mom, I think she should take responsibility for that, in my personal opinion. My personal thoughts.
not able to.
As a consequence of these events?
Yes. And even to this day, I am not the person to, if you come at me with something, I don't have a comeback. I will shut down and I will just.
So she's trying to portray that she's not an aggressive person, but she comes off aggressive on the stand to me. Y'all let me know in the chat. She gives off like a don't F with me kind of attitude. Like she comes off combative to me. That now she's in a situation that is like she's on trial, you know, for a murder that she says she's innocent of, but she doesn't come off as passive to me. To me, the other one, uh me and Black Swan. Y'all tell me in the chat. What's what's her name? Ah, Corey Richens? Was that it? No, y'all know me and names. What was it? What was it? Was that Ashley Benefield? I'm sorry. I said the wrong one. Ashley Benefield. I told y'all me and names. Thank you. Ashley to me, she came across as passive. I mm, I don't know if it was an act or not, but she came off kind of passive. She does not come off passive. She comes off mad, agitated, and a bit combative to me personally. That's how she comes across to me. And using her emotions to like weaponize stuff. Like she's using her emotions, in my opinion, to try to get the jury on her side. They are incredibly shallow to me from where I am.
Retreat. She's not that person. She will get right in front of me, whether we're at the gas station or
Why are you letting her
grocery
do
shopping.
that?
There used to be a time period where I could not even go into a grocery store by myself.
Were there events wherein you were not free to leave the residence?
Yes.
Would anybody control your freedom of movement?
Yes. My obviously I've gained weight over the years, but my eating was controlled. I had anorexia and bulimia. I probably the way this
But that's where it sounded like she was the one like, it didn't sound like that was coming from him. That sounded like it was coming from her, but she's gonna try to blame him for that. But if it's truly, because now, if I'm skinny because I'm being starved or, like, my husband's controlling my food, but the pure nature of disordered eating is that it's my like, it's that's on me. She deflects everything.
now what I did with all four of my kids, but I literally reached for an Oreo one time and was thrown off the couch.
I don't know if that's true. Could be. I don't know if it's true.
Now, at some point in time, Michael took a job at Disney, correct? Okay. Do you remember when that was?
Poor Disney.
I don't remember the exact time when we had moved back from New York to Florida. That's kind of when the whole Disney thing came about because he didn't want to leave me alone. And I mean, from my presumption, it was because he wanted to be around and, make sure that nothing was going to happen
Okay.
or I wasn't going to leave.
Was there any attempts to leave, Michael?
Probably about 8.
Okay. One moment.
I'm gonna fast forward.
All right, sidebar, please. Come on. Your witness is just you.
I'm showing you 3 documents.
3 documents. Gonna fast forward.
Yes.
Do these documents pertain to any acts of violence pertaining to Michael Shaver?
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because they're gonna be documents submitted that allege harm. Going to fast forward a little bit.
Tractor show, correct? Were there any issues going on at the tractor show that the jury needs to know?
Not prior. It was happening at the tractor show.
What was happening?
Isabel was not feeling well. She was getting sick to her stomach. She was getting dizzy. She was getting hot. She's not able to, her body does not tolerate.
They say that Isabel has like autoimmune. She has like medical conditions. That's what they say.
Heat or cold. Like she becomes very flushed and sick. And I wanted to leave because she was feeling sick and we were walking. a very long time. I mean, hours.
Okay.
And there was no stroller, nothing. I just wanted to leave for her. He did not want to leave. I guess the whole point was for us to go there to maybe get a mutual relationship with Frank and Rita. But she was sick. And I was, as a mom, I just wanted to leave because she was sick. And he didn't want to leave. I don't know how else to explain it.
Okay. There was testimony about contacts with.
So I wonder if he was trying to be home more, because I wonder if she was complaining about him being gone too much. So I wonder if him getting a more local job, because it sounds like he was flying between New York and Florida. Like that was his job. Like he was a pilot for a commercial airline. And so I wonder if he accepted the job at Disney so he could be more local. That's what I kind of got from it. I don't know. Like I'm going to skip ahead some more cuz this is just blah blah blah. I don't know. There you go. She's going to say he didn't go to Georgia. And she doesn't know why somebody would say that he went to Georgia, but I think the text message said he was going to Georgia, so that part didn't make any sense to me. Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit more. Because we're gonna get to the cross-examination. The cross-examination is good. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the actual day of the incident. Okay, let's go here. She's also gonna say that she lost Jeremy's baby and that thought she was pregnant, and, like, that's what he got mad about, and I don't know that there ever was a baby. She's gonna say that she had a and I can't say the word fully, but she's gonna have a schmortion, that she, terminated a pregnancy. Nobody knows if that's true.
Told him that his mom was sick. So if he's seen him, to let him know. Frank Merritt was not close with us. So I never told him that he went to Georgia. I said he went to go see his mom. Here is the misconception. His mom, Sharon Shaver, the one that was sick, lives in New York. Frank Merritt did not know the family well enough at that time. He automatically assumed, in my mind, that he went to Georgia to see his stepmom, Sharon Shaver.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
I never made the statement he went to Georgia. I said he possibly could have went to go see his sick mom.
I don't know.
We also heard other witnesses testify, correct? There was testimony about a sale of guns, correct? Now,
She sold, like, 9 of his pew-pews to because a guy was just overheard her trying to sell, like, pew-pews to people, and he was like, "Oh." And he owned a shop. And so he purchased 9 of them from her. I think one was like an AR. Like he purchased 9 for $1,000, which I think is incredibly cheap. Like all of those weapons were probably worth, depending on what it was probably worth a lot more than that because she sold 9 to him for like $1,000. He testified in the trial.
my understanding, y'all had a relatively large cache of guns around the house. Is that correct? Pardon me?
Yes.
Okay.
She was selling weapons in December of 2015. We believe he was killed in November of 2015. So this is December. She's selling his property 1 month later.
Was Mike collecting guns? What was his?
He had a hobby of building them.
I see. Okay. So Mike would build guns, sell them out on the market somewhere?
For his friends, or no, he built them and would just keep them, collect them.
Okay. And with regards to the guns, we heard Isabel testify that Mike had dealt with the guns and been training the kids how to fire guns.
They knew gun safety.
Okay. Did he practice this with them?
Yes, he did.
And so her attorney was trying to elicit that the children knew how to use weapons, and she had to say that it was about safety, but he's trying to say, "Ooh, it's plausible that the child did it." But she doesn't get where he's going. So to me, she has this need for control, and she wants to control this narrative so bad. And she's not doing a very good job at it, in my opinion. But
Did Isabel know how to fire a gun?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody did. We had the 5 acres. There was target. We taught, and we used to go to the gun range as well, but we taught them how to various guns, check to see if they were loaded, unloaded, how to fire, and he would have them walk around the house after they checked to see if they were unloaded or whatnot, walk around the house with them pointing down, teaching them not to point at anybody. Even
So, narcissism is on a spectrum, and everybody can have some narcissistic traits. So everybody can have but people with narcissistic personality disorder are at an extreme. Some people can have features of it. In my personal opinion, so I don't know her, I can't diagnose her. In general, there seem to be some cluster B traits because her if it's true, her threats to harm herself and the children, she seemed to have this fear of rejection and abandonment, and she seemed to go back and forth. She seemed to just explode. And so I work with people with borderline personality disorder that are working towards their treatment, that are working on skills, that are doing a phenomenal job. And it is a diagnosis that can be treated. Sometimes what can happen, because I've worked with people on that spectrum that then connect with somebody that has like psychopathic traits, and there can be issues of DV between the two of them. And that's where we work on safety for clients in those situations. Um, uh, and all of this seems to be all about her. And it really bothered me that she allowed her daughter to get up on this. Her daughter was 7. She was 7 years old. So I have a 7-year-old. He's in 2nd grade. And we don't have any pew-pews in the house. That's just our personal thing. If we go, because we have family members that do. So when we go over to the family member's house, they all have them properly secured. If something happened and my 7-year-old did something, that is on me for like supervision and like making sure that things are, secured and the way they're supposed to be. I would never blame that on my 7-year-old. So her daughter accepting the blame, her daughter could be open to legal responsibility. So let's say it did happen and her daughter really did it. So they assigned an attorney to her daughter, and that woman testified. An attorney ad litem was assigned to her 15-year-old to explain to her, like, you could potentially be like, if this is true, if you knew about this, if you participated, because her daughter opens herself up to criminal responsibility, to liability. Now, she was 7 at the time, so you would think it would be juvenile court and all those things. She was 7, but still, I would not allow my child to do that. That's just me. I'm passionate about those things. All right, let's keep going.
with Nerf guns, they were not allowed to point them at people, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There came a period of time
Good.
because of these injunctions that were filed that Michael was out of the house, correct?
Yes.
And there came a period of time you started dating other people, correct? It was Mr. Bray? Who was it that
Alan?
pardon me? Ballou, wasn't it? Yeah. You dated Mr. Ballou. Was he married or single?
Yeah.
Okay. Did y'all date long? Okay. Did he have any issues with Michael?
Yes.
Then at some point in time, you met Jeremy Townsend, correct? Tell us how you met Jeremy, where you met Jeremy.
I met Jeremy at the school,
At the school?
not at the park.
Okay.
So that's where I wonder if she saw him at the school and if she was kind of attracted to him. I don't know if this part's true. I don't know. Because this part doesn't make sense to me, but we're going to listen.
Yeah, he had an opal color truck. I had a white truck. There was 2 lanes coming out, and we were both there at the same time. Towards the end of August, and he rolled down the passenger window and handed me a sticky note, and I grabbed it. And it said, "I know what you're going through. I can help you. Call me." And he gave me his number.
Why would he suggest that?
I don't believe this.
I had marks on my face.
Okay.
So I think this is what she wanted to happen. I think in her mind, she wants things to be a certain way. I think she wanted Jeremy. She talks about Jeremy with more fondness than she does her own husband, in my personal opinion, okay? Like, because she's gonna try to say he was gonna leave his wife, like, she's gonna say all these things, and Jeremy's like, "We were friends with benefits." Like, I went over there for lunch while the kids were at school. Jeremy wasn't looking long term with her. And he went back to his wife. And because he posted a picture with his wedding ring on, and she got upset about that.
I wasn't, I mean,
So did you call Mr. Townsend?
I did. I went to, what is it, the racetrack right there at the end of 33. And I called him.
Now, Mr. Townsend testified that this was kind of an informal relationship. He characterized it as one of friends with benefits, correct?
She did.
We gotta
Okay.
go back.
Did Mr. Townsend?
We gotta go back. Lori, did that make you a little mad? Like she had to breathe and adjust herself. Um, okay. Okay. I'm gonna go back. Let's go ahead and hear how he characterized things.
Testified that this was kind of an informal relationship. He characterized it as one of friends with benefits, correct?
She did.
Okay. Did Mr. Townsend lead you to believe that he was single?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true.
There's digital data that's been introduced. They have text.
His wife worked at her kid's school. Okay. Now, she might have thought they were separated, but I don't think she thought he was single. And I don't know what she thought. I'm just guessing.
I believe. Does some of that contradict his statement here in court?
Well, that's why I asked him, why did you lie to me?
Pardon me?
That's why I asked him in those texts that were introduced today, why did you lie to me?
Why is that?
Because he was separated from his wife. And then I found out that he was now back together with her. So I said, why did you lie to me? Why all of a sudden are you wearing your wedding ring again? Yes.
I see. Now, did Jeremy come by the house often?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
He
Morning?
says it was 2 to 3 times a week. I don't know that it was every day. That might have been I don't think it was every day.
Night? What times?
He would come by in the mornings. Well, initially we would meet at the school. He would drop his son off. I would, like when our relationship first started, and I would have Isabel and Aiden. And
I wonder if he was legit just having a conversation with her, and if that's what she's seeing as a relationship. You can go downstairs. You can watch YouTube Kids, or you can play with Dada. Okay. All right, my child.
we'd show up early and we'd sit in the.
Okay, so he might. Okay. His father is in the house.
Have Isabel and Aiden, and we'd show up early and we'd sit in the school car line, and he'd come back to the truck
Probably have a conversation.
where I had my kids, and we'd all just converse in the morning while we sat there and waited until school started. Sometimes Vanessa would come out.
That's not a relationship. Like I wonder if he was just chatting. Like I wonder if he was just being friendly. Like I don't think that's when the intimate part of their relationship started.
And get Trent out of his truck early and take him in because she was a teacher there. And then he would leave, go off to work. He worked in, he did landscaping. He had a partnership landscaping business. And I worked from home. So from there, probably in December, because prior to that, I did Beachbody from home. I was doing Beachbody sales from home. Social anxiety. I had never, ever, ever, ever been to a gym before. He was going to Gold's Gym, which I don't remember what Austin said it's called now. But anyways, it was.
So she is going to describe that she has codependent traits, and I don't disagree. I think she has trouble doing things on her own. I think she expects other people to take care of her. And in my personal opinion, she does not accept responsibility for like her thoughts, her emotions, her behavior, and she misreads what other people do. Those are just my personal opinions.
The Gold's Gym where he was a member of. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know how to use anything. I'm not going to go in and do it because I only worked out from home through like videos. So he goes, no, I know somebody there. It was a female because I wasn't comfortable with males. And he set me up with Rebecca Filmer, a personal trainer. That's how I met Austin and Becca. Becca and I became really close. We would go out dancing on Fridays. Like my social life just kind of expanded from there. I started to see that there was a life outside of my home. I mean, little as it was, but it was still nice.
Now, did you ever confide in Jay about your situation with Mike?
Yes. So that all happened at the beginning. Obviously, he had seen that I had marks on my face. So I called him, and we did meet at the park after that to talk. And we met a few times, and it was just talking, friendship. And it was nice to have somebody to talk to, but he told me about his history in the military. He also told me that he was a bodyguard for some professional boxer, and I cannot remember the name. He would travel and be his bodyguard whenever he was on tour. He told me that he was in special ops. He served on the Bush administration in Washington, D.C. as security.
She's sharing more information about but they're trying to say he has all this military training, so he's the one that did it, not her, and that he had this need to protect her, and I think that's what she wanted, but I don't think that's what happened.
Sniper told me everything.
Okay. And we saw those contradictions with his testimony, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did Mr. Townsend make any representations to you that he would protect you from Michael?
Yes, from the very beginning.
Okay.
He told me if I ever needed anything that I could contact him. And he was always on top of it. If Becca and I went out dancing in the evening, he would come over. He would see me before we went out. And while we were out, he would call, and we would have to send him a picture to show him that we were there where we were.
I don't think
And when I
that's
left,
true.
I would have to let him know that I was on my way home, and then also let him know that I had gotten home.
I don't think that's true.
He knew everything. He had everything. He kept track of me every step of the way.
Okay.
I don't know if she ever changed it, but I heard it was on it's down there. That's what I heard. I heard it's in a private area down below the waist. That's my understanding. I don't know.
Let's talk about the event that's landed you here.
I think she likes telling her
Shift
story.
gear over there. Okay. Michael was out of the house at that time.
Yeah.
Is it my understanding he'd been living at the airport?
Yes. So the battery had happened in 2014. The state imposed an injunction.
Okay.
DCF was involved. Mike went through counseling, everything like that. Mike was all that I knew. And during that time period, we both dated other people. I mean,
Yep.
you all heard that.
They did.
Once everything was up, I guess you could say, we started talking again. But DCF had been in the house, and they said that as long as he was not in the picture, everything was okay. But if he came back,
They were going to take action.
so they had offered to move me and the two kids, change our names, change our socials.
Because
But we had already moved so much. We finally were in a good school. The kids had good friends. And there was a point.
DSS doesn't offer witness protection, or I don't know that that's true. And nobody came back on that, I don't think. I've never heard of them offering new socials. Now, sometimes if there is a DV, if there is an agency, but I don't think there were ever any allegations against him with the children. So he might have still had to be in her life to see the children, but just not see her, which would have been fine. I don't know why she did it. I don't It sounds like she wanted him out of her life. It sounded like she wanted to kind of I don't know. I don't know why she did it.
Where Isabel had asked
Why you bring up Isabel?
Like, is this where we're going to live now?
Oh,
And I said,
yeah,
yep, we're never moving again. This is where we're staying. I went to a great school, great friends. So when DCF came in and offered that, I'm like, nope, I'm strong now. I'm going to go to counseling. I went to Celebrate Recovery for codependency.
And Celebrate Recovery is like a Christian program, and I think you have to do real therapy too. So I don't know if she did like actual counseling too. Celebrate Recovery, fine as a supplement. I don't know for her situation. She probably should have done a little bit more. Just my own personal thoughts. Do I think a lot of this is because she was in a relationship so early? So people can be in a relationship early in life and still develop their own sense of self outside of the people that they're with. It sounds like her identity is wrapped up into being both a victim and a protector, because she talks about being her little brother's or not little. Was she the youngest of five? But being her brother's protector, but also it sounded like she kind of resented him for having, I don't know, my own personal what I heard. It sounded like while she was protecting him, how it came off to me was almost like she resented him a little. And her back and forth is just very difficult. I I love covering things like this. Defendants should listen to their lawyers. If they tell you not to testify, please don't do it. If you do, I will cover it because it's fascinating. Because cross examination is gonna be nice. So we're gonna keep letting her talk. Okay,
Was going to live stream counseling.
she was.
I
Okay.
thought I had it. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to stand my ground.
Stand my ground.
Okay.
And
Gonna stand my ground.
so I didn't leave. Dated. Obviously, those relationships sucked, failed.
I'm sure her lawyer wishes she had picked a different word right there, because I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna stand my ground. Mm, with what? Okay.
And I went back. I left Michael.
That might be true.
Did it work out?
Nope. We tried. He was back in the house maybe well, in September 2014, he was back in the house 2 weeks. And then I should have learned my lesson then, but I didn't. And then in 2015, when we had gotten back together, Wilma Nichols, our neighbor, very nosy lady,
I think the neighbor might have testified. Thank you, Mallory. New sub. Welcome, welcome. I love Grizzly True Crime. This lady is so there are like these romantic, like where a person believes they're in a romantic relationship and they're really not. It sounds like this was just more of she thought the relationship was more than what it really was. Jeremy did not seem to be as into her as she was into him. Why do we care what she was going to the gym? I don't even. But the prosecution is just letting her talk because okay. Oh, because at some point they're going to be like, she's too weak to have moved him. She could only lift 30 pounds. And they're going to bring her former personal trainer in, who also just so happens to be her current husband's sister-in-law. And her current husband does not talk to his family anymore. I'll say that again. Her current husband does not talk to his family anymore. He used to be close to his brother. He doesn't talk to them anymore. And that's I hope he reconnects with his family.
Mike would go to work. We would pick him up at LJ Yates' house, who has not testified. LJ Yates lived on 33. He also worked at Disney.
Okay.
Mike would drive from Disney to his house, and we would pick him up there and bring him back to the house, and he would duck so nobody would see him. And then he would sleep there all day.
So she's trying to say that her husband was back, so that Mike was back in the house and nobody knew. That's what she's trying to say.
He built a privacy wall on our back patio so Wilma couldn't see. And she had to put a gate so that she could just come over whenever she wanted. So we put a lock on there so she couldn't do that. And then he worked overnights. So about 7 o'clock, we would take him back to LJ8's house, and then he would go from there to work, and we continued that for a long time.
Okay. So this in the house, out of the house, that continued on and off, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there did come a point in time when you were later with Jeremy, correct? So that's later in time, correct, to those events?
Yeah. It was a couple months later. Like I said, school had just started. I had went to school without dropping the kids off, whatever. I had marks on my face. Jeremy noticed. He sent me a message. I started talking to him. Obviously, talking to him reassuring me. He was saying all the right things. I kind of fell for it. I'm not denying that. I did. It was nice, right? Because now I'm back into
Solid ground.
yeah, and it wasn't working, and I'm like right back into it.
This
So-
doesn't make sense to me.
My birthday, Jeremy and I had talked about plans to go out shopping, going to the movies, going to Hurricanes. Just hanging out for the day while the kids were in school. Awesome. Mike was still in the house at that time. And I had told him that I had just wanted to go out for the day, go shopping, get my nails done, whatever. And he absolutely refused. So I threw a fit as I was walking away from him. He had given me my birthday present. As I was walking away, he threw a
Let's not talk about
Okay,
specific
okay.
events, okay? Let's stay on the factual area.
All right.
of those events, okay? But there was an altercation arising out of that
Correct.
confrontation, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And so eventually, I take it, Michael's out of the house at a period of time, okay?
So I kicked him out.
Welcome. So I don't know. Y'all can let me know in the chat. Did they ever talk about a motive? Like it just sounds like their relationship was just bad. She's only charged with second degree. She's not charged with first degree, and she was convicted of second degree. So yeah. We'll see. It just sounds like she just I don't know. Like I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
I think it was November 10th.
Okay. We heard testimony from one witness and that you were waving a gun at Michael, threatening him. Some witness, he said he got in between you.
That was Robert Mercado.
Robert Mercado. Did that ever happen?
No, it did not.
Why was Robert Mercado at the residence?
We were all hanging out. Barbecue, whatever. I honestly don't remember. We were all on the back porch. There was drinking involved. Mike became irate. I went to the bedroom. He tried coming over me.
So whatever the other person said, I do not believe her. And I don't think the jury believed her either.
At the dresser, Robert stood in between. He separated him. Mike left the property. We couldn't get a hold of him. We called 911 in fear of Michael doing
Sarah.
something to himself. There was a 911 call for that. They did make contact with him. And that was that. But no, there was no gun involved on that evening.
Okay. The gun that's been introduced into evidence, was this gun used in the commission of this case?
No, it was not.
What happened to that gun?
I never seen it again. I don't know.
Who would have taken it?
Jeremy was the last one that had it.
So let's transgress
I don't
into
believe
this
that.
event that led to these charges. Laurie, okay? You remember the event? You're in the house, correct?
I was in the house initially. Michael did not enter the house.
I don't believe
Okay.
it.
Was it morning, noon? Take us through it,
Morning.
okay? And tell the jurors how this transpired.
I got up got my coffee, and then that's when
Before she gets into it. So Jeremy, this is probably he is regretting. People, if you are in a closed relationship, do not be careful. Be careful who you cuz she probably seemed okay when he met her and then things just kind of got a little more interesting. she got a little bit more clingy, wanted more, and that's when Jeremy was like, and then she's like trying to pin her husband's murder on him. Good gosh. Good gosh. So she's about to get into the incident. She is going to allege some physical harm. She's going to allege that her child, who was 7 years old at the time, came in and she shot first and then Jeremy shot. I don't believe any of it, but we have to listen to it.
When I noticed he was sitting out on the back patio. We had 2 tables. There was like one long one, and then there was a smaller round table with
No.
2 chairs. I seen him sitting there.
She never did any of that.
So I got the kids.
I think she used his cards. I think she might have used
I
his
don't
money.
remember if it was Pop-Tarts, breakfast bars, whatever. They're Ovaltine. They always had Ovaltine. They had tables in their bedrooms.
She's the way that she's telling the story, it's like she's describing what she had for breakfast, but she's literally describing like what happened on the day her husband was her husband at the time was shot and killed. And she's just like, "Oh, by the way, okay."
I went in and got them their clothes, gave them their breakfast, turned on the TV, and I just said, eat your breakfast, get ready for school, which they did. Just like every other morning, I'm going to go out and take care of the animals. We had over 400 birds. We had pigs. I rescued a horse. There was lots of animals on the property.
Because they're gonna say there was a smell. The neighbors smelled something.
So that was not unnormal for me to go outside while they were inside getting ready. So I went out there, but I knew he was sitting out there. I could see him through the kitchen window out in the back patio. So I went out there and we started talking and it escalated. And I went to walk back in because this wasn't going anywhere and he was not leaving. And I opened the sliding glass door to go in. And when I did that, he took my phone and slammed it up against the sliding glass door. There was an imprint of my phone on that sliding glass door. He grabbed my arm, pulled me down into his lap. And the furthest chair, that was, I don't have a picture in front of me, but the sliding glass door, there was like a post and there was we had like a bistro table sitting there in front. And on this further side, I guess, in front of the sliding glass door, there was a chair. So he had pulled me down in his lap. He was holding on to me. And at that point, I was just trying to convince him, like, okay. Enough. We'll work it out.
What's he saying to you during this, Laurie?
I was talking at that point. I was scared. That's why I'm saying, okay. We can work it out because that's what I did every single time because I was scared. And he told me not this time.
Was he upset about anything in particular that you're aware of?
Yes, he found out I had gotten pregnant.
From Jay?
Yes.
Okay. So is he mentioning that in his discussion or what?
I can't with the chat. So sometimes we have to laugh to keep from. So this is going very poorly. So we need a little humor break because for anyone that doesn't know what a jump off is, that's an affair. Okay, so like that's like that's jump off affair, and then he does sound like Dr. Phil. It's not Dr. Phil. He does sound a lot like Dr. Phil. Thank you. And Judge Judy. If it doesn't make sense, it's just it's not true. I didn't watch her new show. I used to love to watch Judge Judy.
Oh yeah. I mean, not at that time. We had it was previously before he pulled me into his lap, but I mean, he knew.
He knew what?
Okay.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we'll work it out because at that point I had already had the abortion.
Okay. So, are you facing the house or facing away from the house? Tell us your direction.
I'm facing looking out to the back pasture. I'm on the back porch, but I'm not looking into the house.
Okay. Now, he spins you around and you're in the chair, I take it?
I'm in his lap. He's holding me there.
Okay.
And then he pushed me to the ground.
Okay. As he pushes you to the ground, does he do anything?
After he pushed me to the ground, he was kicking me in the stomach.
Okay. Presuming you were pregnant or something?
Yeah, and I had already told him I had the abortion, and I was screaming at that point.
Okay. Is he making any threats to do any harm to you, any serious bodily harm?
Yeah, I mean, he said not this time. He said I was not getting away.
Okay.
Not this time. I mean, we had been through so many events, but that's not the first time. I mean, he had pulled a gun out me at Publix in Clermont. This was not the
Okay.
first time.
Let's not talk about prior events. Okay.
Second time she's done that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So you're on the ground and he's kicking you.
in the stomach.
Okay. Is he kicking you hard?
Yes, very
Okay.
hard.
Ellis was worse
Is
to
he
me.
making any?
Ellis was so
Okay.
bad.
Is he making any statements of any intent to kill you or anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Is he speaking in
believe it.
such a level that the children could hear this?
Oh yeah, we both were.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of
I
Dr.
was
Cook.
screaming.
Okay. As he's doing this and he's not relenting on it, did he have his foot anywhere?
Well, that went on for a few minutes, and then he put his face or his foot on my face,
And that's the way her daughter said it.
Okay.
smashing it
I
into
don't
the
believe it.
patio porch,
Okay.
whatever you want to call it.
As he has his foot on your face, is it on the front of your face, the side of your face?
I was facing him. Now I'm curled up facing the house, and it was
She was
just
ever
like
pregnant.
this.
Is he continue to yell?
Mhm.
Is he yelling at you?
Not at that point. Nope.
Okay.
No. We were sitting there, and I could not yell anymore.
We heard
He's
from.
just sitting in the chair as he's smashing my face into the porch.
This
What's the
doesn't make
next
any
thing you
sense.
recall?
The next thing I see is I can't even say that I seen her. I more or less heard it, and then I think I seen her.
When you say her, who are you referring to?
Isabel.
Isabel. What's Isabel do?
She had fired a gunshot.
Now, when Isabel fires this gunshot, do you
He just-
see where it lodged into Michael or what?
I could not.
Where are you after Isabel fires the gun?
Still on the ground. And
And-
Michael.
The next thing you recall?
The next thing I recall is seeing Jeremy.
Just
and
magic.
hearing the gunshot essentially at the same time.
Like Jeremy magically appears. Like, do we know how he got there? Like, he magically appears out of nowhere. Because I don't think she had talked about him being at the house. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did she talk about him being there? Like, how did he magically get there to save her in this moment? I don't get it. Like, I, I, like what she wanted, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. Um, and somebody else mentioned about her likability. She comes off just not well. That's my nice word for it. Very not well. Like just like Jeremy, like just like what? Where did he come from? I don't. This does not make any sense. Because the kids are eating breakfast, and then like we're out on the back porch because they're about to leave for school. But
Is there much time that goes by between Isabel shooting the gun and Jay taking over? Or Jeremy?
No, it felt like forever. I remember looking at her.
Had you gotten off the ground?
No, I had not. Michael was still sitting in the
but before they brought Jeremy in magically, they were saying the 7-year-old killed her father. Okay, so that's what they were saying before. So I guess they pulled this one out of it must have been Jeremy, like because at first they were saying it was this, which I don't believe any of that was true. Whatever happened, I don't think the kids were there. I don't think there's any way because it likely happened in November. That's when she's trying to say this happened in May and she drove the kids to school. They're going to bring the teacher in on rebuttal to just talk about like, did anything happen? Like, did you ever notice any changes in her? The defense is going to kind of be like, you have too many kids. You don't have a degree in psychology. You really can't know what's happening with kids. But teachers, you can get a sense and a feel. Now, there are things that fly under the radar. Maddie Soto, I'm sure her teachers like are just like racking their brain. The grooming happened so early and young, she likely felt that was normal. What's happening in this case, like, there's no way a child does this and then just goes to school and everything's fine, and from my rational, like, mind.
Not sure. And
After Jay comes, you hear Jay discharge the firearm. And after Jay discharges the firearm, what do you hear next or observe next?
Poof.
well, at that point,
Doesn't make any sense.
I started crawling away, but Michael fell forward out of the chair.
Fell forward on the chair.
Out of the chair.
Okay. Was that after Jeremy shot or after Isabel shot?
That's what they're voting it on now. But he just
After
sat there after the first
Jeremy
one.
makes that shot into Michael. What happens after that?
I got up. We went into the house. We went to Isabel's room. And
Who has the gun at that point?
I don't recall that he had the gun. I don't know.
Okay.
He
Did you see
was the last one
Did
with
you make
the
sure
gun.
the child
Did you
didn't
see
have it?
Isabel carrying it after that?
No. But it wasn't carried into her room where we were having a conversation.
Now,
She seems
Jeremy
frustrated.
makes that shot. You get up, you go into the house. Are any statements made by Jeremy?
Yes. So he tells me to take the kids, get them out of the house, and he would take care of it. He insinuated that if we said anything, that she would be taken away. And he
That's
said that
true.
he was not going to take the blame for this.
Thank you for adding this. But I think he's dropping off his own child at school. Like this. So he says he never came by in the morning. He was never there in the morning, that he came during lunchtime. So that's what he said. Because he would come for them. He wouldn't just come for them to, like, he would come a few times a week during lunch for the benefits. That's what he said happened. He's not coming in the morning just to say hi. Okay. Okay. That's where this doesn't make any sense. I think that's what she would have wanted. She would have wanted to have breakfast with him. She would have wanted, they were just benefits. This was, and it really, really, really breaks my heart that her daughter got in the middle, like was caught in the middle of all of this. Like, your daughter doesn't have to, like, change her clothes, or like we're just going to school in what we like, what? It doesn't make sense.
So what did you do?
I took the kids. I left. That's what I always did. I took the kids and I left.
Where'd you take them?
I took them to school. I wanted to get back home. I did not know what was going to happen after that,
How convenient.
but I wanted to get the kids out. And the only place I had to take them was school. It wasn't that far away.
So you take the kids to school, you come back to the house. Is Michael there?
No.
Is Jay there?
Nope. No. And we had a conversation with Aiden. I remember that. He had obviously heard commotion.
So now she's bringing up the other child.
He didn't know what happened. He didn't see it. He was in his room, which was at the further end of the house. And I had just told him, your dad's going away for a long, long time, and insinuated that he was going to jail.
Dang. That's
Now,
true.
Did you see any?
If she lied to her son and said his dad was going to jail, after that, if that's true, that's messed up.
Fresh dug holes on the property as you walked about it or moved about it beyond that point?
No.
When Jeremy said, "I'll take care of this," did you have any reason to believe that body was on your property?
No, never. There's no way he could have. I wasn't gone that long where he could have. Finding out the dimension? No. Mm-mm. He came back. It was probably about 2 p.m.
So that's where I don't like fully judging a person's entire personality on the worst, like them being on trial. Because right now she's trying to protect herself. She's in this for herself. She's trying to have the jury believe her, so she's found not guilty. And my personal thoughts, she would do or say anything for them to not think it was her. Just like that's just what I get from all of this. So that's where it just comes off very self-serve. And I get it, but like don't throw your kid under the bus. Like don't like and it's so bad. I wonder if the prosecution would have offered her a deal. I really, really wonder if they would have offered her like 20 years or something, like if they would have offered her something else. I think with her crime, I think she's facing life maybe because there's the extra gun addition to it. So I don't know exactly what she's facing. Her sentencing is going to be in November, I believe. As long as her PSI, as long as her pre-sentence investigation is done before then, she should be sentenced in November. November
Now, did
2nd,
you
I
know
think.
whether or not his family had property elsewhere?
Yes.
Did you make it?
Okay, so they're gonna blame all the other people. I can't take any more of this. We have to get to cross. So painful. Okay, let's get to cross-examination. Y'all ready for this? Cross-examination. All right, let's go.
Yes, sir. All right, let's have a sidebar.
Oh, that's what they start with.
Shaver, in the beginning,
I'm gonna go back. There we go.
Ms. Shaver, in the beginning of your testimony, I believe you may have misspoke.
I don't think she likes being called Miss Shaver. I think she likes being called Miss. I think it's Fillmore. I think that's her new married name. I don't know. I don't know that she likes being called Miss Shaver.
Mr. Wiggs asked you when you were married to Mike Shaver, and you said May of 2016. When did you get married to Michael Shaver?
2006.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Now, the biggest question I have.
We're gonna do 1.25 because we're at normal. I can't take normal. 1.25. Let's go.
For you, because you didn't mention it once in your entire story, is when did your husband get killed?
When?
The exact date I cannot recall. It was beginning of May of 2016. It was not November.
Okay. So sometime, you don't know, but sometime in May of 2016 is when this happened. Okay. Now, your phone number prior to this homicide was 352-431-0419, correct? You don't know your phone number?
That's not my phone number now.
Okay. You don't.
I do not recall my.
Okay. But if that's the phone number that is from all those screenshots between you and Jeremy Townsend that you saw,
Yes.
would that refresh your memory that was your phone number?
Yeah.
Okay. And you, at some point, changed your number to 352-431-8444, correct?
I don't believe. I can't recall that because at some point I put my parents on my phone line.
You remember seeing the court document that was submitted into evidence where you put your address and phone number on it?
Yes.
And that 844
Okay.
number
Yeah.
was what you listed?
Yeah. I don't remember the phone numbers from back then. And since then, I have also had my parents on my phone bill.
Okay.
My question was whether or not that was your phone number. You agree that the 8444 number was your phone number based on that court document?
Yes.
You would have been truthful in a court document, correct?
So I think maybe they got legally married after Mike was declared deceased. Okay. So I think so, but they had a ceremony in 2016, maybe December. Y'all correct me in the chat. I think they started dating in like May or no, not May. They started dating some point. I don't know. They started dating and I think they were married within 6 to 8 months, I think. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I don't know. But they had a commitment ceremony. That's what he said it was. I think I don't know if he thought she was divorced. So I think her current husband, Mr. Fillmore, I think he wants to protect her as well. I think he does. Just my personal thoughts. And he called it a commitment ceremony. Everybody else thought it was a wedding. So they might have legally gotten married after he was declared deceased. So I don't know, but that's her legal name now, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Now, I also, one of the statements that you made, I think you said you wouldn't recognize Jeremy.
Today, when he walked in, I would have.
She's gonna like throw shade at Jeremy. Like she's gonna try to be like so that he looks different than how he looked before. Like so because he has this long beard, blah blah blah, but um she's okay.
Never recognized him today. That's not what he looks like.
All right. Now, you mentioned the fact that he had this skull tattoo. You have a skull tattoo too, right? All right. So that doesn't really mean anything.
I had mine way before.
Okay. Now, you were saying that you met Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015,
Yes, at the end of August.
and that he passed you some sort of Post-it note.
Mhm.
Yes? All right. And you had talked about because you had marks on your face or something like that. Is that a yes? All right. Now, according to you, Michael Shaver had left the residence in November of 2015, correct? Your residence.
Yes.
All right.
I had kicked him out.
All right. Well, I thought that you were the type of person that would just shut down and retreat and couldn't confront anybody. That was your words, right?
That's what she said.
No, I said that I'm not the type of person where if you come at me and say something like belittling me or anything like that, I shut down and retreat. I'm not confrontational.
All right.
That was in the context
Okay.
of
You kicked him
me and my daughter.
But you were confrontational with Mike Shaver.
Yeah, I told him to get out because he knew that if I called the cops and he would definitely be kicked out and he would be picked up. So yes, it was pretty much easy to get him out.
Let's try to figure out this timeline. In September of 2014, he was arrested for a domestic incident that involved you, correct?
Correct.
And that is when he went to the airport hangar, correct? Where he started living.
Yes.
All right. Did he move back into the house after that?
Yes.
All right. When did that happen?
I don't know the exact time.
Okay.
It was.
How long had he
It
been gone?
wasn't. He had been gone over a year.
All right. So sometime in 2015.
It was. Yeah, probably summer of 2015.
Okay. So if the arrest was in September of 2014, approximately 6 to 8 months that he was gone?
No, it was greater than that because he had finished his probation period.
Okay. And in that incident, he also suffered injuries, correct?
Yes.
Did you hit him over the head with a gun, correct?
Well, he had the gun pointed at my head, and at that point, I was done. I thought I was giving up at that point. I had nothing left in me until I seen my kids come out and start screaming. And as soon as I seen them, I took and slammed that gun into his head.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that he was not at fault for that incident and this is actually you?
No.
Did you throw a vase of flowers into the sliding glass door and break that?
I did.
We're getting into specific conduct at the stage.
She brought it up.
Can we approach, please?
Sidebar, please.
She brought it up. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how not confrontational you are. Let's talk about she's up here saying all this stuff about him, trying to say all these other things. This is why you don't testify if you don't have to. You stay off the stand. She opened doors. I don't know if they're gonna get how much they're gonna get in. I'm gonna fast forward. She's so upset. But she is not confrontational. That's like me saying, you can't read what I'm saying based on my face. You can't. You can't tell what I'm thinking based on looking at my face. I don't even try to hide it here. In therapy, I do. So in therapy, sometimes I use it therapeutically. So if a client is like BSing me, I'll look at them like, So sometimes I use it therapeutically, but why? They're having a long conversation. The look she gives people. This was long.
Breaking the sliding glass door. Okay. And you also broke objects in the bathroom, correct?
No, I did not.
There's pictures of the sliding glass door from that incident. You've seen those, correct?
Yes.
And other items in the house that were broken, correct? Along with the injuries to you and the injuries to Mr. Shaver.
The only injury that I was aware of was to his head.
Okay. And his pants were torn, correct?
He would hold my
What-
keys
what
in
hap- my-
his pants and would not let me leave the residence. So after I hit him in the head, pushed the gun into his head, I had to reach into his pocket and grab my truck keys so that I could evade the property with my children and get to safety.
Now, after he left in November of 2015.
Okay.
Got it straight now? Okay. After he left in November of 2015, was this incident, which ultimately led to his death, the first time that he came back?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So then in August, I'm sorry, you're saying you actually started a relationship with Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015?
Started talking in August, and Michael was still at the residence.
Okay. So after November,
But is talking like literal conversations? That's where I don't trust her. Because were they just having literal conversations? Do I need to back it up? Okay, rewind. I'll rewind. Let's go back.
of 2015, was this incident, which ultimately led to his death, the first time that he came back?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So then in August, I'm sorry, you're saying you actually started a relationship with Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015?
Started talking in August, and Michael was still at the residence.
Okay. So after November of 2015, he does not come back to the house.
Correct.
So that check that was sent to him and deposited in his account, he would not have received, correct?
I don't know. He got his mail.
How did he get his mail if he wasn't at the house?
The mailbox was not at my residence. It was at the end of the road.
Okay. So after he left in November of 2015, are you saying that he would just come by every day to pick up his mail?
I don't know what he did.
Did you ever notice any mail missing?
How would I know if it was missing?
Did you ever notice any of your stuff missing?
No.
Did you ever notice any mail coming from Michael Shaver to that address after he left?
Yes, a few things.
What would you do with that in order to get it to him?
I would take it back to the post office and do return mail. No longer at this address.
Where was it going?
I don't know.
Where was it?
I don't know. I assumed probably back at the hangar.
Because he was deceased sometime in November of 2015. That's what the prosecution's getting at.
If he left in November of 2015 and went to go live at the hangar, why would he quit his job at Disney?
Because there was a sexual harassment charge against him.
You heard that his supervisor came in and said there was no such thing and there's nothing in those.
So on rebuttal, they have, I think, a lady he dated while he was working at Disney. And they asked her if he ever had a sexual harassment charge or something, or an allegation against him. And she's like, there was one against me, but no, there wasn't ever anything against him. And I'm like, oh, you didn't have to admit that part. Like, but she's just like, no, like there was nothing against him. No.
Those records, correct?
Oh, I did. I heard
Are you
that.
saying that Disney falsified those records?
The sexual harassment complaint filed against him came directly from Michael's mouth.
Okay. And you had access to his bank accounts, correct?
Yes, he had access to mine as well.
And you withdrew money from his accounts, correct?
And deposited money, correct?
In November of 2015, what deposits were you making in his account?
I have no idea. I'm not sure that I was.
Deposit that Mariner check into his account?
No, I have no idea what that is.
All right. The money from the sale of all of his property, how did you get that to him?
Well, it was not necessarily his property.
Right,
It was
what about
on
his guns?
his guns. Okay. So after he was arrested, and
My question was, how did you get the money from the sale of his guns to him if you didn't know where he was?
I did not give him the money from the sale of the guns. Those were not his guns.
Would you have any way, if you say you don't even know where he is, would you have any way of getting him any of that money?
No, I never said I gave him money.
You just said you deposited money into his account.
No, I mean, that was throughout the whole marital. I would deposit money and take out money. He worked overnights. So during the day, if he needed anything, any shopping and all.
So it sounds like she was the one controlling his money. Like if she's transferring money into his account so that he can buy food, that can be financial abuse. Like Like if you can't go to the grocery store and just buy food, or like if she's having to transfer money into his account so he can like do basic stuff, but I think she's lying, but okay.
all that for the well-being of the house and the kids, I would do that during the day because he was sleeping because he worked overnights.
The as far as the Facebook records, all the stuff from the Laurie Shaver Facebook account, you would agree you posted, correct? None of that stuff was anybody hacking you or anything like that.
Did not appear so.
All right. And the you had access to Michael Shaver's Facebook, correct?
Previously,
Okay. How did you have access to his account?
well, previously we had a joint account. After we had separated in 2014, I believe we separated emails, Facebook. Prior to that, everything was joint. After that, we went from a joint bank account to two bank accounts, 2 emails, 2 Facebooks. Prior to that, everything was joint because he controlled everything.
The did you have his password?
Previously, well,
She's saying but she controlled the money. She's in the house. She sold all his stuff. Like, what? How does he control everything?
it was a joint password because it was a joint account
When he had his own, when did he start his own account?
after we had separated in 2014.
The did you have his password for that account?
Well, that was our account.
When you said he started his own account, my question is, all right. And did you ever post anything on his account?
No, I did not.
Did your daughter have his password?
I don't believe so.
Was anyone else living in your house after May of 2016 that had access to his phone or password for Facebook?
I don't know about the password, but there was 2 tablets. There was a laptop and a desktop.
Did they have his Facebook profile in it?
Everything was automatic. Everything was already logged in. So all you had to do was just log it, like open it up, and you were automatically logged in.
Was your daughter posting on his Facebook?
No.
Was your son posting on his Facebook? Oh. Now, did you ever tell anyone that after he left in November of 2015 that he was in jail for failing to pay child support?
I did.
That wasn't true, correct?
No, it was not. That was an old manager that I had a relationship with way back when, and he had moved back from Connecticut to Florida and was reaching out to me, and he was curious. I was
That's Ramin, correct?
Correct.
And that, when you say relationship, that's another affair, correct?
Correct.
But you told him that Mike was in jail for failing to pay child support and his license was suspended, correct?
I gave him my personal information, and he was asking about that because
Okay, wait, hold on one second. How is Mike being in jail your personal information?
accurate personal information because he was questioning. Because prior to that, there was conversations where Michael had threatened once again after finding out to kill me.
All right. So when you told your manager that you had a prior affair with that Mike was in jail, that was a lie.
And so if people have an open relationship, do you be happy if people, so that's where, but she seemed to get jealous when Mike was with other people. But then I wonder if she would kind of almost flaunt like what, because they were both seeing other people, and it's just sounds like a very, very toxic situation for everybody. Which just get divorced, work out, communication for the kids, do one of those special co-parenting apps if you have to, but don't do crimes.
Did you tell your sister that you guys had been working out a separation agreement?
Yes. Well, we actually did work out a separation agreement and it was filed with court.
In order to do that, you have to get was that here in Lake County?
It was.
Okay, so there is some sort of divorce proceeding with your name on it and Michael Shaver's because you just said you filed something in court, correct?
I did not say divorce. You said separation. So after 2014, after that incident, we both had attorney representation, and Michael and I came up with an agreement, handwritten. We both signed it. That was filed
Where?
here
Where?
at this courthouse.
What case is that in?
Whatever the prior DCF is, and I had won that case with no adjudication. I don't know where that record is, but it was filed. And in that agreement, he agreed to pay X amount of money. I would keep the kids. He could not take the kids. He would see them every other weekend, whatever. We had that separation. I made more money than he did. I covered the health insurance. I covered the kids. I kept the house. He was moving out of the house and he was going to pay XYZ. That was a handwritten document that both of us signed in front of the mediator at this DCF agreement that I won with no adjudication.
Was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No, there was not. Not in the state of Florida.
Or any other
After
state.
2015, was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No.
When law enforcement came and asked you about the whereabouts of your husband, you were not truthful with them, correct?
I didn't know where he went. The last,
You know what happened to him, correct? All right, you didn't tell him that, correct? The Walmart purchase that was on your husband's bank account, you did that, correct?
I don't recall doing that.
That was sent to your house with your name on it, correct? All right.
I don't recall.
So just for everybody watching, there's something called cross amnesia, where when you're cross-examined on direct, memory impeccable. Memory, all the details. But on cross, I don't recall. Non-clinical term, only for the law nerds, the psych nerds, cross amnesia.
Like the exact parameters around it or what I bought or anything like that.
So this event happens in May of 2016, correct? Say yes.
Yes.
Your relationship with Jeremy Townsend ends very tumultuously in May of 2016, correct? Say yes.
Yes.
And your relationship with Travis Filmer then begins in May of 2016, correct?
He came over at the end of May. Yes.
And you were actually engaged to him in July of 2016, correct?
Yes.
In April of 2016, Rebecca Urbanowski was living with you, correct?
Correct.
And the fire pit itself was built in March of 2016.
I guess so. I don't.
That's when you posted it, right?
The fire pit was built over Mike's body, okay? The shoddy concrete job was over his shallow grave.
And then how big was your property? And out of all of that land, you just happened to choose the area where your dead husband's body was found to put that cement slab. That's basically what you're saying here, correct?
No, because I did not know his body was there. It went there because that area was already dug out.
Quite a coincidence, you'd agree, correct?
No, not necessarily. Not if you realize the whole parameters of what came first and how that all transpired. Like I said, that was something that Jeremy and I had originally talked about doing because I'd gotten rid of the animals and we had the fire pit and we were talking about wanting to, I mean, it was his suggestion to put in concrete.
So the March 2016 is when you put that fire pit in.
Jeremy.
2 months later is when your husband is still on your property, correct?
Yes. The concrete was not poured until September,
Correct, by you and your now husband.
but I had no knowledge that he was under there. If I was trying to cover him up, why would I do that so many months later? And only
I haven't asked you a question, ma'am.
I haven't asked you a question, ma'am.
So the incident that led to your husband's death, your husband had not been around for months, correct?
correct.
And he just happens to show up sometime in May of 2016, correct?
Not just happened. That was pretty typical of him being gone for months and then showing up and us getting back together.
Okay.
That was
And then during that time frame, this was sometime before you were going to take your kids to school, correct?
yes, he was out on the porch when I went.
How was he dressed?
Shorts, t-shirt.
Okay. And an argument between the two of you starts.
Yes, I went outside. I got the kids settled and I went outside to talk to him.
How old was your daughter at this point?
7.
And is there a reason why you never taught your daughter how to dial 911?
Dang.
I mean, we just had cell phones. We didn't have a landline. She knew how to dial 911, but like I said, I had my cell phone on me. The security system that we had, she would have not have been able to reach. It was above the keys where the door was.
But when she said, I didn't know how to call 911, I'm asking why you wouldn't have taught her.
Okay. Y'all are here for the interruptions. Let me go back because there was a question about, do I think she was obsessed with Jeremy? So it's my understanding that when Jeremy got on the stand and said that she was just friends with benefits, that she started crying. That's my understanding from Brandy Church the 13th juror. So my understanding is Laurie started crying when he said we were just friends with benefits. Like he loved his wife. He didn't love her. He didn't. And that seemed to bother her. She talked more fondly about Jeremy, and then her taking that dig at him that she wouldn't recognize him now, like, that's just when they both look very different than how they did back in 2015, 2016, and it's a big mess. He's also a veteran, and I work with military veterans. He is a combat survivor, and they tried to bring up the fact that he accepts. They called it government aid. No, sir. He is a medically retired veteran that's receiving appropriate funds for his work-related injury. That pissed me the hell off, okay? Like, I have so many veterans in my family, and when her attorney tried to go at Jeremy for accepting state no, no, no. That's it's not like he's on and I don't mind when people do receive disability or anything like that, but this is military VA benefits that he got because he was fighting for his country. Like, stop. Stop it. Okay. I'll get off my horse now, I suppose.
Did teach her how to call 911, but she didn't have a phone.
Okay. Now, your testimony is that she shot him, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, that you were able to get out from underneath Mr. Shaver, correct?
I did not crawl away until he was falling to the ground. After she shot him, I was still looking at her, like, still comprehending everything that was happening. I wasn't two yet because he had his foot on my face, smushing it into the ground. It took me, it wasn't that long, but it took me a little bit to kind of comprehend what was occurring. And
certainly didn't get up after being shot, correct?
Hmm?
You certainly didn't get up out of the chair after being shot, correct?
No, not until, no. After the second shot, he fell forward. The first shot, he sat in the chair.
At the time of his death, Mike Shaver was about 5'3".
5'3".
Mm-hmm.
5'8", 5'10".
Okay. Now,
I'm 5'2".
the probable cause affidavit around the time of his arrest listed him at 5'3" and 130 pounds. You're saying that's inaccurate?
That was probably me.
Okay, where you weren't arrested, right?
His probable cause from 2014?
Yes. You're saying that 5'3" and 130 pounds is inaccurate, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's
Okay.
definitely probably not what's on his driver's license. He was not 5'3". He was like 5'8" and 150, 160 pounds. I was 5'2" and 115, 20.
When Mike left.
And so for a defense attorney, defense attorneys try to defend their clients as best they can. And their role was to kind of make Jeremy look like the monster to make her look better. And the jury didn't believe it. So that's where I just got very upset when I saw them doing that to a medically retired, probably 100% disabled veteran. And that got me. I have multiple family members that are 70 to 100% medically retired due to PTSD, due to like what they, fighting for our country. And so that hits close to home. And it really upset me. But her attorney was just doing what attorneys did. And it didn't work, which was good.
He left his vehicle, correct?
You're talking about the black car.
No, I'm talking about he had a vehicle and he left it behind, correct?
His black car had been sitting there for a while. He had a bent rim and the air in the tire could not stay inflated. So he was driving my truck back and forth to work.
Right. My question was, when he left and moved out, he left his car, correct? And he left everything that he had that had any sort of value that could be sold, correct? His guns,
He took
his
stuff,
tools,
yes.
his ATV, left all that behind.
All the tools that were in the shed were of no use to him. They were like old tools and stuff like that. And it wasn't an ATV.
My question was, he left the stuff behind, stuff that he could have sold, correct?
Correct.
He stopped going to work and lost his job because of it, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
So he lost his ability to make any money, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
Prior to November of 2015, he would call you using the phone frequently, correct?
Yes, because he was back in the house and we were trying to work things out.
After November of 2015, there is absolutely no calls to you after that November 7th, 2015, correct?
I don't recall.
There's not a single call to you, to the children, anything, correct?
I don't recall.
There's no activity on his bank other than withdrawals from the ATM in Clermont where you lived, correct?
I didn't know that.
November 2015, he just vanishes off the face of the earth. No one can account for him, correct?
I don't believe that that's true.
But you've definitely not had any contact with him in any ways until he shows up someday, which you do not know, in May of 2016 when this incident occurs, correct?
No, he showed up prior to May
I
at
asked
my
you-
property, but he was already causing trouble prior to that, which fits within his history of doing this.
My question to you previously was, after you kicked him out in November of 2015, and prior to him coming out the day that he was killed, I asked you, did he ever have any contact with you? You said no, correct?
Not physically, correct, but calls and stuff like that, yes.
Calls?
Text, his threats, stuff like that.
You've seen
There were no calls on his phone. She's making, so she has a history of making up that people are stalking her and that people are, she even tried to say that Jeremy, and so the part that breaks my heart is even her child said that she witnessed some of that as well, and I don't think it was true. I don't think Jeremy was that into her that he would like yell things from his car at her. I don't believe that.
You saw the phone records, which show absolutely no
Text,
calls from
Facebook
him
messages,
after November
there
7th,
was-
correct?
All right,
He was-
allow the witness to finish. Thank you.
He was communicating with Jeremy. I believe he had sent me text. He had sent me a nasty text prior to that, telling me I was just like my mom, something to that effect. He was communicating.
From your IP address.
I don't know that that's my IP address. How can you verify that?
Because it's the same IP address that
We did, ma'am, but we did. We did. Aw, technical evidence. I'm sorry. Like we know that that came from your house, your router. That was at your house. You did that, pretending that he was still alive. No. Oh,
your account that you says you used posted on as well.
Okay, how do we know that he didn't post on my face or log into my Facebook?
So what vehicle, the day that he showed up in May of 2016, what vehicle did you use to get to your house that day? What vehicle was in your yard that you didn't recognize that day?
In May?
Yes. So he just walked? He just showed up without a vehicle in your house on the back porch.
I was not paying attention to that.
Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Wiggs.
I don't have anything. Thank you, Judge.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you. You may step down from the witness stand.
let's go to the verdict. Sorry about that. Loud. Since we're doing court TV, let's just go straight to the verdict. So after 3 hours and 55 minutes of deliberation, the jury had a question. They wanted to rehear the tape where she was told that human remains were found on her property. And she goes, okay. Like, ma'am, there are human remains. We found human remains on your property. Okay. So if somebody were to call me and tell me they found human remains on my property, I'd be like, what? What do you what could that mean? Who could that what? Like I would have some questions. I wouldn't just go, okay. What? Unless like you knew they, and so I think the jury thought like, oh, she knew. She knew. And the jury, so after they heard that, it then took them, it's my understanding it was like 5 minutes. After they heard that, I think they might have had like one or two other questions. Grizzly True Crime did a phenomenal job covering their questions and all of that. Um, I my heart breaks for people that are in unsafe situations because one of the most dangerous times for a victim of DV is when they decide to leave, when they try to end the relationship. That can be a very unsafe time. And if something happened, if something went down, if there was something that happened, she could have reported it then, but it sounds like she might have been the aggressor in this situation, but she was charged with second degree. And let's go on ahead and get to the verdict. Let me turn. Okay, closed captions are on. We'll do. Okay, I will do 1 point. We'll do normal speed, I suppose. Let's play.
Do we have audio from inside the courtroom?
Dang, Vinny. I'm sorry. My bad. Sorry if that was loud. I didn't know that was gonna be that loud.
Thank you.
Okay, I can't. So I won't interrupt it while it's playing because I'm gonna have to adjust my volume. So I'm gonna play.
All right, after having reviewed both verdict forms, the court finds that there are no errors or omissions in the filling out of the verdict forms. Madam Clerk, please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 5th Judicial Circuit of the State of Florida in and for Lake County, the State of Florida versus Laurie Shaver, case number 2020 CF 2361. Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the charge. The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder. Was the defendant in actual possession of a firearm? Yes. Did the defendant discharge a firearm? Yes. Did the discharge cause great bodily harm? Yes. So say we all, dated this 13th day of September.
I don't know why it's muted.
Verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the charge. The defendant is not guilty. So say we all, dated this 13th.
So I don't know what count 2 was.
Does counsel for either the state or the defendant wish to have the jury polled?
That's us, Judge.
All right, Madam Clerk.
And so they're all going to say yes, that was their verdict. She is going to be remanded, and she's going to have to do her fingerprints over on the side, and then she's going to go back. Vinny might be a little loud, so let's just but yeah. So that is that part. Let me do this. There we go. Super, super sad case. Oh, count 2 is manslaughter. Okay, so that makes sense. Oh, accessory after the fact. Okay. Okay, so count 2, that makes sense that if count 2, because manslaughter would be a lesser included, like that would be a lesser for count 1. So it makes sense that that part 2 was accessory after. I guess they just thought like she's the one that did all the things. I'm surprised they didn't charge her with like tampering with evidence. She never made a report or like she's probably facing life in prison, I'm guessing, because it's second degree and the gun charge as well. So, not a lawyer, can't say what she's facing or what she's not. I just love true crime. Good gosh. So y'all make sure these have been heavy cases. Make sure that you take care of yourself, that you watch something funny. I watch oh, what is it? It's The Circle. And season 7 just came out. I've already made it through the first, I think it's 4 episodes. They have some twists and turns this year in The Circle. And so I think new episodes drop on Wednesday, so I will watch that again. I also watch Emily in Paris. It's a guilty pleasure. It's just like I can just have it playing in my ear and it's fine. Yes, you love The Circle. Yes, yes, yes. They add some new things. They add a disruptor to The Circle, and the disruptor. So I won't do any spoilers or anything, but they add a disruptor to The Circle, and that's been interesting. And so please, please, please take care of yourself. This was a very, very heavy case. I am keeping an eye on the Carly Gregg case. I'm also keeping an eye on Donna Adelson. Here, I will say, because oh, what's her name? The the special prosecutor in the Karen Reed case. Because some people wanted my thoughts on that. It is Morrison. Y'all know me and names. So she filed, I think, like a 30-page something. Like she ended up filing. She's still upset that Alec Baldwin's charges were dismissed with prejudice. And it's my understanding she didn't cite any law. Like, why won't she just let it go? She's still defending herself, and she seems to be. Did I say Karen? Somebody? My bad. Karen Reed. No, no, no. Karen Reed. She's Hannah Gutierrez. My bad. No, no. So Hannah Gutierrez. I'm sorry, but Hannah Morrissey. It's Morrissey. Y'all know me and names. Me and names. I'm so sorry. It's Morrissey, but she's in the Alec Baldwin, Hannah Gutierrez case. Me and names. Okay, and I've been live since for like 4 hours. I start to get loopy, and I'm hot too. Yes, Carrie Morrison. Okay. So people have been asking me to just kind of talk about what could be happening in a situation like that. She is a lawyer. And I think she probably likes to win. She probably doesn't like the fact that she lost this. She probably thinks she didn't do anything wrong, but the law is pretty clear that, like, that's why the other special prosecutor came off the case right before all that stuff went down. It was so much drama. It happened so fast. It is very interesting, and she just won't step aside and just be like and just take the L. Like she just won't take it. And sometimes that can make a very good prosecutor. A prosecutor that's very dedicated, but she's not admitting that she made a mistake. It would be like if I wrote a report for a client and I wrote their birthday wrong and I was like, "No, no, like that's just your birthday now." Like, and if I wouldn't like whoops, my bad. Like I made a mistake. I'm going to correct it. We're going to move on from there. Now that's a minor thing in comparison to her losing a high profile case due to like allegations of like yeah, due to the allegations that were there. And uh, she should probably just consult with because she could make things worse. I think she could end up making things worse, and she just won't stop. And I don't know why. I don't know why. You watched the Batman series. Cool. Cool. 1949. Wow. I didn't realize Batman. Wow. That's out there. Um Blame it on the rain defense. Oy. All right. And when she took so if we're talking about the Morrissey, like when Morrissey took the stand and it just kept getting worse. She just won't accept that she made a mistake and she did something wrong. Like she just won't accept it. And once again, like sometimes that can make a like an attorney that is going to fight for things and is going to, work hard, but like you also have to accept reality too. And I hope she has some people in her corner that can talk with her, but it's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. So thank y'all for watching this with me. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. Don't do crimes.